Oh, you knew the hand. What's getting stretched right now? My toes. So congratulations, your toes are extra flexible. Now go march. All right, you can take, actually, while you're up here, what's another stretch? Going across like this? Uh-huh. You see bands doing this or some variation of it? What is that doing to the shoulder? And you can have a seat. Give a hand for sitting. First volunteer today. Thank you very much. What's getting stretched there is the joint capsule. The front part of the joint capsule. When somebody dislocates their shoulder, which way is it most likely to go? Forwards. So you just put them at a predisposed angle to dislocate their shoulder during your marching band rehearsal by doing that. Congratulations, you have now stretched out your toes and possibly dislocated shoulders. So let's start from there. No more static stretching before rehearsal. Can we all agree on that? So I don't want you doing what this guy's doing. I had some funny pictures, but they would have been a little bit controversial. Put in there instead. Now, dynamic stretching. How many of you have heard of dynamic stretching? How many of you have not heard of dynamic stretching? Okay. This is using activity, using movement to gain range of motion and prep your muscles. So to warm your muscles up before rehearsal. That's what your marching band needs to be doing prior to moving. Think about if you're about to go march, you tend to do a visual rehearsal beforehand. You would not stand there and do a music rehearsal and then go march and expect everything to go hunky-dory. You need to do the same thing, prep your muscles by warming up before you go into visual rehearsal. You see the football team before their games, doing some of these, all that. Those are variations of dynamic warm-ups. That's what we need to apply to marching band. If you see your football team sitting out there stretching their hamstrings, I would bet money that they don't have a very good record. Personally. Too much running. This is another mistake bands make. I say, all right, what are you doing for a workout right now? Well, we go do about 10 minutes of stretching. Our drum majors lead it, and then we have them go run for 20 minutes. All right. What's your injury rate right now? Well, we have a lot of shin splints. Okay. Let's start from the bottom. We'll get there eventually. Marching band is not all cardio. It's not even steady state cardio. You end up doing 16 counts that way, 8 counts that way, 12 counts that way, hold for 10. You have a lot of interval training going on within that. You need to be doing interval training with your band. You don't need to be going and trying to run a mile every day thinking that's going to make you better off. Running is just as much of a skill as playing your instrument is. If you say, all right, everybody, go run for 20 minutes, or even go run for 10, how many variations of running do you see? Too many. And some kids just look really goofy when they run. That translates into some injuries. I actually had what was very well intended this past year. The drum majors at Wando started Run Club. Every Tuesday before rehearsal, kids would go run for half an hour. We had as many injuries from Run Club as we did from marching band. Those kids that didn't know how to run got out there and would run for who knows how long, and then twist their ankle or get shin splints or have a knee injury. Too much running could actually kill you sooner. That's the bottom line. A lot of bands teach muscle imbalances with their workouts. How many of you had to do push-ups in band? How many of you had to do planks in band? All right. What side of your body did you just train? The front side. Did you do anything for the back side of equal value? So we go back to upper cross syndrome, tight pecs, weak backs. You're right here. They wonder why they don't have a big sound. Well, you spent 30 minutes every rehearsal teaching them how not to have a big sound. So everything that you do matters when it comes to training. You need Newton's law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. No, your marching band kids may not look like the meathead up there with the really scrawny calves, but that's the kind of imbalances that we are training. The next mistake that I see is poor exercise dosage. This is not an area that many programs even know what it means. Exercise dosage, you need to think of in the same terms as you think of your medical dosage. How many of you take a pill of some sort in the mornings? You pay attention to the milligrams in that. Say, if you're taking an anxiety drug, you don't want a double dose. You're going to be knocked out for the rest of the day. If you're taking some, you've just got your wisdom teeth taken out and you have to take a Loratab for a week. Don't make the mistake I did of taking a whole when you should have taken a half. You'll feel nice and warm for the rest of the evening. So it's the exact same when you go into exercise. Does anybody know how many reps of something you should do to gain strength? The answer is like 8 to 12. That's your strength range. Sorry, I lied. It's like 3 to 8. That's strength. Now, if you want to gain endurance, that's more in the 24, 25, 30-ish range. If you want to gain muscle control, motor control we call it, the ability to execute a movement over and over again, do that like 30 to 50 times. There's no limit to how many times you need to do that. Think of marching. How many times do we take a first step during the season? Over and over and over. And you never want to step anymore, especially not with your left foot. You want to just stick your right foot out just to piss off the director because he's making you do it so many times with your left foot. That's a motor control skill, a motor coordination skill. You can do those as many times as you want. If you're using your training program to develop a certain motor coordination skill, do it a lot. Don't do 10 reps and then say bye. Another dosage aspect of that is called muscle hypertrophy. That means literally getting your muscles bigger. We don't need that for marching band. Hypertrophy is in the 8 to 12 repetition range. So you've probably seen somebody or heard somebody talking about going to the gym, they did 3 sets of 10 or 4 sets of 10. That's in the muscle hypertrophy range. They're trying to get those muscles bigger. At least I hope. I hope they weren't going for coordination, only doing 10, because they're not going to be very good at that skill at the end of the day. Another mistake is band directors are inconsistent. Okay, what did you guys do for your exercise and training regimen last year? Well, we started off about the first 3 weeks of the season with some conditioning, and then just kind of tailored off. We got too busy. Okay? It takes 6 to 8 weeks to get past what we call neural adaptation in the rehab world. That means it takes 6 to 8 weeks for the nerves coming down from your brain to be able to tell your muscles what to do to execute this movement. The muscles aren't going to grow in those 6 to 8 weeks. They're going to learn what they're supposed to do. So your program needs to last the entire season, or you're not going to get any benefit out of it. The other part of being consistently inconsistent, as I have seen many band directors, is that they're on the extremes. I talked to one band that trains for an hour every day the entire season. Those kids are exhausted. They are run into the ground. There's no wonder that they can't rehearse optimally by the end of the day. Or the opposite, you stop too early. You go out there and you do 15 minutes of static stretching and think that that's your conditioning and stretching for the day. Last one, you put the wrong person in charge. In my high school, I had been going and developing some of these skills already as far as dynamic versus static stretching, but when we went into a stretch block, the director had our drum major, who was one of the most unathletic kids in the program, doing stretches. And so we sat there and cranked on our toes for 30 seconds, 3 times, and got really stretchy toes. It's really the blind leading the blind in that case. If you have poor leadership in this area, you're going to get poor results from this. So your leadership lesson from this, I like to give leadership lessons anytime that I do private lessons or private instruction with student leaders, is that you can only give what you have. If you don't have this skill, you can't give this skill set to your band. So I'm so glad that y'all are here because y'all are learning this. You guys can take this knowledge out and spread it. Other people that haven't been here yet and don't know this are putting your band at risk by doing things.